Have you ever been in a conversation where, even after sharing all your thoughts, you left feeling defeated? Maybe you're often around folks who talk over others, cut in, tease, and take charge of spaces with boldness, pretending to be self-assurance. And perhaps, inside, you've thought that keeping quiet means you're feeble, that not speaking up is giving in, that not answering back is the same as failing. But what if I told you this is all a trick of the mind? That real strength doesn't come from talking, but from holding back words entirely. Nietzsche, a philosopher many don't fully grasp, noticed something most people are too scared to face. Those who chatter endlessly show too much of themselves. Those who feel they must persuade are already on shaky ground. Society drills into us that we have to argue, clarify our stance, guard our opinions, like every chat is a showdown for what's real. But Nietzsche offered a quieter, sharper, and far smarter way. He felt that silence isn't just a lack of sound. It's a mighty force all its own. Silence throws people off. It shakes them up. It makes them deal with their own reflections. This video is made for you who always feels brushed off, outshined, or unheard. For you who walks away from talks thinking no one caught what you really wanted to get across. For you who's worn out from being the soft target, the gentle soul, the one who smooths things over while others step on your kindness. Maybe you've mixed up your quietness with backing down. But today I'll prove that silence can be your greatest strength, and that the best win isn't topping a debate, but dodging it altogether. Get set to look at silence differently, not as saying nothing, but as the strongest reply there is. Let's jump into Nietzsche's thoughts and figure out how to handle any moment without speaking a single thing. Why do we feel this urge to answer back, to argue, to fix mistakes, to show we're right? Because deep down we've been trained to think truth needs a fierce fight to stand up, that if we don't speak, we're letting others take the prize. But Nietzsche saw this as a clue to our biggest flaw, being terrified of looking powerless, and that fear hides in our ego, a shaky ego that hates being doubted, that takes any difference as a strike, and turns every talk into a fight zone. Nietzsche pointed out that most folks aren't chasing truth when they argue. They're after control. They prop up their ideas not because they're rock solid, but because if those ideas wobble, their whole world might crash. In this way, arguing isn't about being smart. It's a shield, a frantic yell from the ego to keep the story in its grip. So what's the takeaway? When you feel pressed to explain yourself or prove something, you've already stepped into their trap and stumbled. Because just needing to back up your spot shows you're still hooked on being liked, accepted, or figured out. Nietzsche labeled this herd morality, the habits of people stuck living for others' nods, wanting to seem nice, fair, or proper. But chasing that okay from others is what keeps you frail. True might, Nietzsche said, isn't in winning people over, but in not caring to try. It's in sticking to your view even when they laugh, judge, or turn away. It's in being misread and not flinching. He hands us a strength that's not about loud wins, but inner command. A force that builds when you stay steady while everyone else spins out. A power that blooms when you quit jumping to reply. If you want to come out top, you've got to see this. Talking battles are like a stage play, and the first one to leap up and perform has already flopped. Nietzsche knew a mind that snaps back is a trapped one. The watching mind, though, that's the real threat, because it doesn't need to show off anything. But if we shouldn't bite back, how do we hold sway over people? If words trip us up, how do we let others sense our grit without a single sound? Nietzsche had a fix for that. It's tied to his vision of the Übermensch, a person who rises past everyday rules and runs the show through total self-restraint. In the next bit, we'll dig into this character and see how they use silence like a tool to rule. Ready for this step? So this is clicking for you. Hit that subscribe button and join the channel. Thanks for sticking with me. Nietzsche didn't pen his words for the timid. He wrote for the rare ones brave enough to look inside, face their own struggles, and turn them into power. To him, the average person stays caught in habits, strict morals, and craving claps from the crowd. But there's another kind of soul, scarce, bold, unbound. The Übermensch, or overhuman, doesn't just roll with the world's punches. He crafts the world to match his own picture. And the wildest part? He often pulls this off without a peep. The Übermensch doesn't bother with debate trophies. He skips shallow mind games. He watches. He gets it. He picks his words with care and, even more, knows when to zip it. Silence is its own tongue, a tongue that doesn't beg for agreement. It demands attention. The Übermensch's quiet isn't blank. It's a warning. It's weight, hum of self-rule. While others holler, he earns awe with a glance. While others ramble, he spots their cracks just by staying cool. His silence is a fortress. Those outside it panic, guessing what's behind the wall. In that panic, they mess up, spill too much, and tip off balance. This silence isn't sitting back. It's full grip on your own spark. It's smart pacing. The Übermensch knows every word out loud is a card played, every heated reaction a weak spot shown. That's why he comes up, not from having nothing to share, but from not needing to share a thing. He's outgrown proving himself. His vibe does the talking. And more, it rattles people, forcing them to face their own racket. In a loud world, those who tame silence are the bosses. Nietzsche saw the Übermensch as someone who sets their own standards, their own codes, their own right and wrong. He leans on no one's thumbs up, and that's why he's a scare. Nothing rattles more than a person guilt, fear, or need can't budge. His silence blocks all those tricks, and when he opens his mouth, it's because his words could shake a kingdom. But here's a big question. What makes silence so creepy to others? Why do heaps of people feel on edge when someone just won't bite back? What flips in the brain when a clash they braced for turns into a heavy nothing? The key's in how minds work. That's what we'll unpack next. To get silence's strength, we first need to see the storm it kicks up in others' heads. And trust me, it cuts deeper than you'd guess. Silence isn't only sound gone, it's a looking glass. And for lots of folks, what it shows back is too hard to take. When you pick not to answer, you're not just muting yourself. You're making the other person hear their own echo, wrestle their own points without your pushback to lean on. That shakes them, because most don't talk to spill their guts. They talk to guard themselves, to prop themselves up, to mask the hole between their words and their real self. So when you go quiet, their cover drops. Mind studies show that in tense spots, silence feels like a verdict. Doesn't matter if you're just tuning in, the speaker starts feeling bare, wobbly. Why? Because with no reply from you, they can't steer the tail. Their brain lights up with worry. The amygdala, that fear and fret spot, fires off. They start tossing their own doubts your way. Is he sizing me up? Did he catch my nerves? Can he tell I'm faking? In this headspace fight, silence is a sneaky knife. It slices where eyes can't see, but all can feel. Nietzsche clocked this way before science backed it. To him, regular folks are stuck dancing to their gut moves. They leap without thought, snap back from pride, yap to not fade out. The higher soul, the self-ruler, stays hushed because they know every word tossed out is a gift to the foe. Every heart spill is a shout saying where to hit. Plus, silence wrecks those who twist feelings and they freak. They crave your reaction to feel solid, showing the soft you've buried. But there's more beneath it. Silence digs up old aches, stings of being ignored, ditched, or shamed. Because all at once, they see they're not the star, their words don't land, their being doesn't stick. That's torture for a puffed-up ego. So when you hold your tongue, you're not just shielding, you're hitting where it stings most, right at their fake core. That's why silence takes guts. It's rough not just for them, but for you too. Going against all we're taught, to clap back, to stand up for ourselves, to spell it out. But that's why it's fierce. It calls for control, and control is real power. Now that you get how silence messes with others' heads, stirring doubts, cracking walls, peeling off acts, it's time to step up. Quit just watching and start wielding this force on purpose, with a plan. Next up, you'll learn how to shape silence into a sharp tool, how to outmatch any squabble without a peep. And once you nail this, no one can steer you. Time to shift from just seeing silence's might to using it. Knowing without doing is just dusty ideas. From here, you'll turn your silence into a pinpoint strike. Not a guard, but a blade to slash through others' fronts when they're off guard. First move is basic but brutal. Hush up when your insides yell to speak. It's tough because every bit of you will itch to jump in, to back yourself, to prove your point. That itch is trouble. Every time you cave, you show others still pull your strings, that their thoughts still hook you, that you're still in their ring. Real quiet comes only when you snuff that urge, when you see you don't owe a soul a thing, when truth stands fine unsaid. Second trick of silence is watching close. While others yap, tangle in reasons, and stuff the air with noise, you tune in. Not like you're itching to cut in, but like a tracker hearing steps in the woods. You catch the fears tucked in their lines, the tiny slip-ups, the bold fronts hiding shakes. You stack it all up, so if you talk, it's dead on, like someone who's mapped their weak spots cold. Third trick, timing. Let silence stretch out. A break builds strain, and strain is clout. As they talk, waiting for your move that never lands, they crumble inside. Unease piles up. Their head fills the gap with guesses, jitters, wild thoughts. One look from you, with no words, can hit harder than 10 slick lines. Fourth trick, being a wild card. Master silence, and you're a mystery. Mystery spooks folks because they can't pin you down. When they can't guess your next step, they lose their grip. They watch their words tiptoe. You flip the game. From chasing, you're the pull of the talk. Here, silence isn't it's pure rule. But watch out. Don't mix silence with doing nothing. Nietzsche never cheered for frailness. This silence we mean is alive, tight, packed with aim. You're not stalling. You're lining up, picking your spot, setting yourself with a strength that hits without showing off. And when the time's ripe, when silence has laid it all out, you drop one line, a clean shot that shuts it down, not by volume, but by being truer, heavier, no dodging it. But here's a trickier bit. We've covered using silence to come out ahead. But some moments aren't about topping. It's about keeping your heart afloat. There are times when people aren't just sparring with you. They're working you, twisting you, wearing you down, and you don't even clock how you're losing your edge every day. You're getting run over without a whisper needed. That's where this road gets grim. When silence stops being a play and turns into a mute cry from someone who's slipped the reins of their own life. Next, we'll lay this bare, how you might be getting used without a hint. While you think you're dodging fuss, someone could be stacking their wins on your quiet, and Nietzsche got that. What's worse than being gagged? It's being wired to think quiet's your only shot. That choking down your fire, bending in talks, skipping fights at all costs means you're grown. That staying mum shows you're steady. But what if I said that's a snare? That half the time, this quiet isn't clever. It's surrender dressed up. Nietzsche saw it raw. What you tag as calm is often just you tamed. Ever notice how some ride your chill, your knack for hearing, for letting stuff slide, for dodging rows? They shove their takes, plant their flags, nab what's yours, and you let it roll. You tell yourself it's not worth a scrap, better to keep it smooth, no biggie. But here's the deal. You're shelling out big for this phony calm. Worst of all, you're a tool for those who bet you won't shove back. Nietzsche talked slave morality, a setup the weak cook up to scrape by under the strong. It's about folding, guilt, playing sweet, a shadow code that trains you to shrink, fade, fit in, and still pat yourself on the back. But Nietzsche didn't scribble for quitters. He wrote for those who snap those ties, who spot they're being played and ditch their own cave-in. When you take this quiet that gnaws you, you're tossing your strength blind. You're molded by others' wants. You're not you, you're their prop. That's the flip of what Nietzsche called will to power. Real will to power isn't hollering or bossing others, it's bossing yourself. It's grabbing your own tail back. It's going quiet not from fright, but because no one's owed a piece of you. This giving in quiet needs to fade, and a quiet of being needs to rise. One that won't buckle, won't shrink, won't beg pardon for breathing. A quiet that holds steady in mess. That's the silence Nietzsche would nod to, the silence of someone who's their own king. But how do you climb there? How do you shift from being a pawn to owning your space? How do you ditch the herd vibe inside and step up as someone who rules silent? The clue's in Nietzsche's top star, the Übermensch. We've touched him before, now it's time to see how to be him. In the last stretch, you'll uncover what it takes to live this new breed. The world doesn't want more yappers. It craves those who own silence and roll with it. We're at the end line. I need you to catch this clear. Silence isn't nothing, not a blank, not a pause between bits. True silence is full-on being. It's command. It's proof you're not just bouncing off the world. You're carving it with just existing. Nietzsche didn't write for those cool with scraping by. He wrote for those who'd climb higher, who'd rip off society's fake skins, even if it stings. The Übermensch's silence isn't the crushed or scared kind. It's the quiet of a fighter who's won before the clash kicks off. It's the still of someone who doesn't need to flash creds because he knows his core and, bigger, what he's worth. Now scan your days. How often have you zipped it from fear, guilt, not wanting a stir? How many times have you let others pick for you, voice for you, stomp your truth? Enough. Nietzsche'd say, living like that spits on being alive, that swallowing this silence sells you out. From now, your silence needs a new beat. It's got to quit being a dodge and turn into a silent roar of clout. A wall, a claim of you, even if no one gets it. Who you are doesn't need getting. It needs living. And that's guts. Got that guts? Drop a comment. I pick the silence that pulls respect. Not just so I know you stuck it out, but so you shout this pick, this vow to you. Words pack punch, even praising silence. Don't park here. The next video's key. It'll grow what you grabbed here and stretch your head more. Watch it not for me, but because you've earned the jump. And keep this. The weak blare, the strong hush, the sharp pick when.